The title of my article is called Changes in the Autism Behavioral Phenotype During the Transition to Adulthood. Now, the subject of this article is to present the case study that was performed to show that students within the autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, react to change when they transition from one school to another, and then also transition from high school to adulthood. As I have read, seen, and also experienced those with ASD, they do have a hard time transitioning. The very definition of ASD is that it affects how a person acts and interacts with others, communicates, and the learning process. I know personally with one of my students, he has a problem talking to me, he doesn't look at me in the eye, and he also has selective interests and repetitive behaviors. So putting him on a schedule is a must. And Edgar is always putting things back into their usual place, or else everything will be off for him. He is also unable to function socially and usually keeps to himself, and the students, they also say that he's in his own little world. He is also unable, as of right now, to work at a job site and complete other tasks by himself. And I know that this is a great concern for parents as well as for me. But trying to get him to complete a task is difficult because of the change from high school to the adult transition program. Now, the study that was done in the research article was to determine if exiting high school participants were associated with alterations in rates of change in autism symptoms and maladaptive behaviors. Now, maladaptive behavior is a type of behavior that is often used to reduce one's anxiety, and the result, it's usually dysfunctional and non-productive. And I know those with ASD, they often stem where they, with their hands or whatever it is that they use to calm themselves. So that's kind of like a distraction. But in the end, both authors felt that more studies need to be completed, that there were a few flaws within the study. Two examples being, a student was homeschooled instead of being at a public school, and then mostly the participants were Caucasian. And, it would be best if, they were able to follow and see how others reacted race-wise, whether it be Mexican, Asian, what have you. But I guess, in the end, they determined that those with ASD have a hard time after high school to transition due to the fact that they cannot find the appropriate educational and occupational activities that they needed. And that's where our adult transition programs come in. We're seeing more and more of these come out, so these are very good for our students. As for the theory that came to mind was this theory of mind deficit, which is also known as TOM. And Simon Baron-Cohen was the one that kind of came up with it. It was an idea that a person with a theory of mind should be able to identify the mental states within themselves, so they should know, what they're thinking, as well as others, and then use that information to make certain prediction about a certain person's behavior. So they're making this facial expression, so they must be mad. But with Simon Baron-Cohen, he said he came up with the TOM hypothesis of autism, which suggested that an individual with autism is impaired with this disability, and Cohen's theory suggests that taking into perspective of others is a real deficit for them, since individuals with autism have no idea in telling what intentional communication, such as a baby making a sound for when it's hungry, pretend play, or inferring the emotions of others. The term given then is also known as mind blindness, which shows that those with ASD perform less well when given a task and are unable to read the minds of their typical peers. Which is why strategies such as visuals, role play, or social narratives are so helpful to those with ASD, because it reminds them what the appropriate behaviors are, when to use them. And with anyone, explaining why behavior is inappropriate, the do and show method is better than being